It's not button. It's button. Like, it's not even a T sound. It's just a glottal stop.
Yeah,
it's a right proper button.
Yeah, you don't do button. You say you say like button like that. You have a very pronounced glottal stop.
Button.
If you just say button, that's like normal Texas. But you're like button.
Button. Welcome to RPG Book Club LongCast, a podcast where we play a little bit of a very long video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Sam Ullman.
I'm Maddie Grace Webben.
I'm David Bernard Hauk.
And we did it. We finished .hack GU.
Finally.
We don't have to play .hack GU ever again, except I could see myself like kind of wanting to in like 10 years. Like, you know what? Let's just take a summer and go back and visit our friends.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel this game can fit into that category of game for me. But,
some part of me will miss being forced to spend time with these characters every so often. Some part of me.
I miss Gabi.
Yeah,
Gabi's good.
The fact that there's no Gabi this week is kind of frustrating.
But Sam, there is
Tabby.
Everyone's
favorite character.
That they definitely remember. But yeah, this week we are finishing .hack GU by talking about any of the post-game stuff that we decided to do in Volume 3 and the entirety of Volume 4, because it's only like 3 hours long. But before we get into any of that, Bernard, how was your week?
I played God of War a lot. God of War 2018. It's really good. It's very silly in a lot of ways. And it's trying to be so serious, but it's still very silly.
I love that.
But it's very fun to play, and I like it a lot.
I've heard it's got real chonky axe play.
It does. You throw the axe with one button, then recall it with another button, and it feels so good. Like, you call the axe back, and you hit someone while it's on the way back, and there's a little thump of rumble when Kratos catches it. It's good.
Yeah. I also heard that it's Alfred Hitchcock's The Rope, cinematography-wise, which I thought was really cool.
They do the whole thing in one take,
did that thing.
Which is sort of just a pretentious prestige thing that I don't think the game really earns. But it's also hilarious because since the whole thing is one take, this is like a 20-hour game. So Kratos and Atreus are going like 20 hours without eating, sleeping, or using the restroom because we're seeing them the whole time.
Yeah. There's no parts that you imagine happening in between. That is silly, actually.
There was one part about 10, 15 hours into the game where someone offered Kratos food and he was like, "I'm not hungry." And I'm like,
why not?
Damn, you've been working hard for 10 to 15 hours. I would take some food.
That's pretty funny.
That's great. Yeah, let's listen to I think there was new music this week.
There was at least one new song all the 3 times that we fight What's This Bucket. And there was a new ending theme. 2 new ending themes. Yeah. There's a couple new ones. There's enough for the episode.
So we'll listen to one of our new songs this week, and then we will talk about the game. should we talk about the ending of part 3 before we start into part 4, or should we start in part 4 and then just talk about the ending of part 3 stuff with like our bonus time at the end?
I think we should go ahead and talk about stuff at the end of part 3.
I agree.
I say that, but I don't have anything.
Okay. Then I will start talking about Online Jack, because it's the most important one. So, in Volume 3, we get 3 new episodes of Online Jack. I think we maybe vaguely mentioned episode 7, but I'm going to read the Online Jack article on .hack.fandom.com because their synopses are better than ones that I could write. So, in episode 7, Michiru, who is now a reporter for Online Jack, goes to see Salvador in his hospital room. To her surprise, Salvador has left his bed, leaving a dummy behind as a practical joke. Laughing, the real Salvador comes out of his hiding place in the corner and congratulates her on her new job. Michiru angrily tells him that it's his fault she got fired from her old job as a teacher and proceeds to beat him up. After he recovers, Michiru tells him that even though she was fired, she still considers Toru and Osamu her students and swears to help them any way she can. Salvador agrees to help her, and the pair goes off to visit Professor Sugai. With the heavy advertising that he got on their previous episode, Sugai has become an overnight celebrity. His book on doll syndrome recently topped the sales charts with hundreds of thousands of copies sold. Dodging other reporters, Salvador and Michiru enter Sugai's apartment and ask what the next move should be. Though giddy over his success, Sugai quickly becomes serious and tells them that his only concern is to help children like Osamu and Toru, no matter what it takes. In episode 8, the episode begins with Salvador, Michiru, and Sugai infiltrating CC Corp's number 4 lab at night. While Sugai attempts to hack with the help of a hacker friend into the lab door, the others conversate about how players of the world were infected by an entity named Ida, and they end up with doll syndrome. Some end up with doll syndrome. Others become, quote, followers. Sugai swears to save the children, even if it means losing his job. After they hack in, Sugai tells Salvador and Michiru how CC Corp knew the risks of the world and observed patients in secrecy as a cover-up. He also mentions the lab in which these observations took place, which apparently was closed down. They eventually find the lab completely empty and run down. But as they look around the lab, Salvador finds a week-old bag of potato chips and begins eating them. They're all startled as the screen behind them turns on. The world's menu screen is visible, and then the screen briefly changes to the scene of Ovan and Aina before releasing the rebirth and shutting off. Speechless, all three watch as the screen turns on again, showing the rebirth program being activated, with the word rebirth being typed out between the code flashes. The screen switches to a blinking and alarming rebirth and engulfs everyone in a blinding light. The flash gone, they find themselves caught by CC Corp employees and aghast at what they just saw. So episode 9 talks about how it's Michiru and Salvador like having a press conference, and they talk about what had happened, and they mention how like thankfully they were recording the whole time, because if they weren't, CC Corp probably would have disappeared them, but they couldn't because it was online, and it was like super scary and everything. But they say that all of the students now are awake and have no memory of what happened, and it's like really like kind of freaky, because they'll go and like talk to them and they're like, oh, I don't know, I was playing some games and then here I am, I have no idea what happened. And so they go to the hospital to visit some of the kids, and they're walking out and they're like, we never did figure out what Ida was. And then this girl passes by, and she was like, Ida is like two mirrors staring into each other, or something similar like that. I forget the exact wording. I missed the screenshot button there.
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what it actually was.
Yeah, because it doesn't. No, it never expounds on that. It's just some
actually, Sam, I can explain. Ida is the anti-mirror of the Twilight Dreams memory. Oh,
you're saying Ida is like a bluebird?
Yes.
Elaborate on that.
No.
So then the girl gets in the elevator, and you see down the hallway that a nurse is taking a plaque off the door that the girl just came out of, and it says Shino Nanao. So that was our girlfriend waking up from her coma, immediately leaving so she can go play video games with her boyfriend. And that was the end of Online Jack, which I was expecting like more from the final episode, because like episode 8 was like such a cliffhanger, and then episode 9 is kind of just them talking at the camera a lot. It was kind of
like how episode 9 is very much disc 2 of Xenogears.
Yeah.
It's just some people talking.
Yep.
Although I guess if it was disc 2 of Xenogears, they'd be talking and they'd be like, the third network crisis happened, and then there was a zombie apocalypse. Anyway. And then they would just move on.
Yep. So the other cool stuff that happened, cool was in like 17 quotes, is Haseo was voted Time Magazine's Person of the Year. He actually the news capture, it's the Impulse, the gaming magazine you can subscribe to. It says, our survey has selected Haseo of The World as the greatest online gamer. Haseo is a charismatic player who went undefeated through all 3 arenas of the world. The other day, Haseo defeated Taihaku for the championship of the Sage Palace and accomplished an undefeated sweep of all three classes. It was the first time for Haseo to enter any of the tournaments. It is the first time that a player has ever accomplished such a feat in the World Division 2. Another reason for Haseo being selected as the ultimate player is because he was once a very popular PKKer called the Terror of Death. Haseo has many legends, such as taking down 100 PKers at once. He has many female fans for being mysterious, yet cool. CC Corp stands firm in regards to Haseo's identity offline, as divulging it will intrude his privacy rights. But I
can't think of anything. Hilarious. I can't think of anything else. Anything else that happened in 2017, really. So yeah, sure.
Yeah. Let's see. Also, Ovan's. So it was kind of funny. The voice acted cutscene translated this differently than the text, so I don't know which one is actually correct. But Ovan was acquitted. He because I think I had said a couple of weeks ago that they had tried to pin all of the network crisis on him, and so there was a trial even though he was in a coma, and he was acquitted from it. But let's see. What was the thing? That was different. Oh, so it was like the like blog post says that the which I think is the actual correct one, says that he was acquitted because it was found out that CC Corp had tampered with evidence, but then the news one was like, oh, he was acquitted because there was no evidence or something like that. It's like they were at odds with each other. I don't remember exactly what it was. I remember just being like, well, that's opposite. But yeah, Ovan didn't go to jail. And the last...
And we will soon see.
Yeah, the last big thing is that it was found out that... Because you remember... beginning of volume 2 how there were race riots in Kazakhstan.
Oh yeah.
And it had boiled over and it was this huge thing. Well, turns out that the army of Kazakhstan uses this robot warrior called Talos, and it malfunctioned and killed some civilians, and it was thought to be a hacking attempt by the other side, and so it was this huge big deal. And it turns out that the network connection, which is where like its brain is in the cloud or whatever, its network connection had a malfunction in it. So fucking Ida caused a goddamn like race riot and killed civilians in a crazy death robot overseas, which is fucking ridiculous.
Well, that's fucked up.
People should stop playing the world. It's okay. You don't have to play online video games.
Don't put your fucking death murder robot on the cloud, for Christ's sakes.
Jesus Christ. And then the last things from volume 3 that I have are just memorable moments, and I'll bring them up later.
Nice.
But yeah, so what happens in volume 4, Bernard?
Well, the first thing that happens in volume 4 is Haseo recaps the events of volumes 1 through 3, and then he says he's come back to the world. Haseo opens his desktop and says it's been forever since he logged into the world. He notes they've stopped doing updates. When he logs in, there's a message from CC Corp. Thank you for your continued patronage of the world. We regret to inform you that that data has been corrupted due to a server failure. We ask for your patience while we investigate this situation, and we sincerely apologize for any inconvenience this may cause. Additionally, service for the World R2 will be discontinued as of December 31st, 2018. We hope you will enjoy playing until then. When Haseo sets foot in Makanu, things get all glitchy, and he comments that it's unstable. He goes to enter some area words at the Chaos Gate, but gets a call. He addresses the caller as Sayaki, but she tells him not to be so formal, so he calls her Pi. She tells him to head to Delta Hidden Forbidden Dark Grotto and ascertain the situation while she monitors him from the real world. Pi says the world is experiencing server issues and bugs across all systems. No one knows why. Pi guesses it's because of all the illegal activities such as the Rebirth and Kubia. She says CC Corp has decided to shut down the World R2 on New Year's Eve. There's only a few days left, so rescuing him will be a race against time. Haseo enters a lost ground with a giant pillar of ice. He says it's the newest lost ground unearthed by Nab, Quahome Cavern. Ovan sleeps within the ice. Haseo narrates that the real Ovan, Masato Indo, is still in a coma in the real world. Haseo says he'll smash the ice to pieces and wake Ovan the hell up. Haseo uses all his weapons and skills to try to break the ice, but it doesn't work. Haseo asks if he's still not strong enough. He tells Ovan he'll find a way to break him out of the ice whether he wants him to or not. Haseo returns to Makanu and finds Syllabus, Gaspard, and Athley waiting for him. Apparently, Shino told them he was coming back. Then Alcade and Shino walk up too, so all the girlfriends are here.
You've got so many girlfriends in this game.
Got 3 more girlfriends than me. They tell him even more people are gathered in the central square to see him. The group heads that way, but a mysterious figure appears behind them and watches them as they go. And they say, like, more people are waiting in the square, but I'm pretty sure the only person that wasn't in that room that is later in the square is Kaede? Or maybe Tabby's there too.
Yeah, so a more accurate thing to say would have been, it's like in the room where they're all in the living room, and then Lisa is like, let's all go outside and talk out there instead of inside. It's like, hey, let's all move to the next screen and talk to the other 2 people that are there. It's funny.
Yes.
That happened a couple times, actually, in this episode.
Well, I mean, people are actually, like, talking in person instead of emailing each other, so... Yeah,
no, it's an improvement.
It's crazy.
You can go this entire game from start to finish without logging out, and I didn't. It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually didn't even save until it was like, hey, this is the point of no return. You might want to save. I'm like, oh, yeah, let me double my saves. And I was like, oh, wait, this is my first save?
I was remembering to save, thankfully, but I had to save, like, in-game. I didn't save on my desktop.
Yeah.
Haseo goes around the square talking to everyone. Syllabus and Gaspard say they're here to help Haseo with whatever he's up to. Adelie says she knows that Haseo's trying to save Ovan and asks why he didn't tell her, why he doesn't feel like he can trust her. Haseo tells Adelie that he's been working with Sayaki to find Ovan. Earlier this year, she quit CC Corp and transferred to NAB, the Network Administration Bureau. She got him a job there as well. Haseo finally discovered Ovan's location just this morning. Haseo says he just didn't have time to tell everyone. Adelie says he told Shino. Haseo says Shino's taking care of Ovan in the real world. He didn't want to tell her or anyone else because he didn't want to put them in danger. Adelie scolds Haseo for not asking for help and aggressively says she looks forward to helping him. I like the scene.
It's really
Adelie is good. I can't believe I like Adelie. Tell that to me playing Volume 1 that I would like Adelie. There's a character named Tabby who Sam was saying is from the show.
I think so.
She's
I
a cat
can't imagine
girl.
what else she would be from.
I think maybe she might appear in some of the post-game stuff in Volume 3, but I don't know. Apparently she was a member of the Twilight Brigade, and she never came up in Volumes 1 through 3.
Yep.
She never contacted Haseo or anything.
Yeah. And when you talk to her, he doesn't say something like, "Oh, Tabby, I haven't seen you in ages." He just says like, "Tabby, you came back too." But that implies like the same way everyone else did, right? Like he talks to her as if she was a character from the other 3 parts of the game. It's very strange. She's adorable.
I googled her. She is a huge character in .hack Roots, and at the end of Reminisce, if you get to the 50th floor of the Forest of Pain post-game dungeon that we did not do, she joins your party, and she's like, "Oh, it's my last day in the world, and I'm going to leave it. You go and you do your thing." And then afterwards, she sends you an email. She's like, "You know what? Maybe I'm not so done playing the game." So she at least has shown up in a previous game if you cleared it out, which we did not do. But she's mostly from the show.
Still weird that she never showed up or contacted Haseo, or Haseo didn't contact her. Nothing happened during this whole adventure with their mutual friend Ovan.
Yep.
But anyway, Haseo then speaks to Kaede, who says Zelkova is off performing inspections and she doesn't know where he is. Haseo wanted to ask him about something. Kaede says she's worried about him. She asks Haseo to let her know if he finds him. Alkaid tells Haseo she performed an arena sweep and became emperor of all the palaces, but now the arena's shut down and the game's dying down. She tells Haseo she'll help him with whatever he needs. Shino walks up to Haseo. He tells her he couldn't break Ovan out of the ice. She says Ovan may not actually want to wake up. Maybe he doesn't want the story he created to come to an end. Haseo refuses to believe it. Tabby calls Shino away, and Haseo wonders if using the epitaph would break the ice. Haseo remembers Zelkova telling him he's going to seal Skaith. He says it doesn't belong in this world. Haseo gets a short mail from Aina asking to meet him at Hulgran's cathedral. We see the mysterious figure from before watching Haseo as he heads to the Chaos Gate. Aina welcomes Haseo back. She says her brother's condition is worsening. He might only have a few days left. She asks why Haseo can't save her brother with the power that saved the world. She believed if anyone was going to save Ovan, it would be him. Aina runs off. Haseo remembers Zelkova saying that with the other 8 phases absorbed, Skaith is too strong for this world and is likely to summon the anti-existence. Haseo warps back to Makanu. The mysterious girl from before is there asking people if they're Haseo. Haseo's like, hi, are you looking for me? She says she has a favor to ask of him, and asks him to come to an area. He asks why he should. She says that the man in Quaholm Cavern, Ovan, is part of what she wants to discuss. Haseo brings a party and heads to the area. When they defeat the boss, the mysterious girl approaches them. She says, Haseo, you truly are the one I've been looking for. To party member number 2. Haseo's like, I'm Haseo. She says she can't quite match faces to names. And I just want y'all to know, every single time there's a scene with this character, just assume that there is a face blindness gag that I skipped over.
Sometimes more than one in the same scene. Sometimes she'll do it at the beginning of the scene. She'll be like, "Oh, sorry, I have trouble with faces," and then like at the end of the scene, she'll be like, "Okay, bye, Haseo," and he's like, "Mm-hmm."
Yeah, I did not record them all because there's a lot.
It went from being really cute to really annoying. Yeah, although they kind of salvaged it at the end.
Yeah, I think it's like one of the last ones is very funny, and the rest of them are a thing that happens.
Yeah.
The one where she like tackle hugs Haseo and it's like, oh, Zelkova. Is that the one you're talking about?
No, I think it was.
I'm assuming you mean the one where Haseo is like, oh, you're doing a bit. Like you're making this up.
No, I don't remember that.
He does that at one point. Haseo eventually is just like, you're fucking with me, aren't you? And she doesn't respond one way or the other. I think Haseo's right. I think she's fucking with him.
Yeah. I don't know.
But I'm not saying face blindness isn't a real thing, okay? All y'all face blindness havers out there. It sucks, probably. But this is an RPG. This is a video game. Characters have other attributes besides faces, and they also, when you point at Haseo's, it probably says Haseo over his head, so you know.
Yeah.
I feel like face recognition part of your brain, okay, I don't know anything about this, but I just feel like it probably doesn't even really work as much when you're playing an online game anyway. So anyway,
who knows?
There aren't any other X form terror of deaths around. Anyway,
now I'm just assuming Haseo has, like in MMOs, you can get like a title that's next to your name, and he just for some reason has terror of death. It's just Haseo open parent, terror of death, close parent.
Exactly.
Which she should be able to see, but I guess she has that turned off. Yep. Anyway, she introduces herself as Kusabira and says she comes from the net slum. And every time I had to type Kusabira, I would type like Kubasira, Kabusira, Kasubira. I would get it wrong every single time. But I'm pretty sure it's Kusabira.
Kuwabara.
She wants Haseo to save her brother from a monster. She says 2 days ago an enormous monster called the Shadow Vulgata appeared and wiped out the net slum. She says it's not a part of
Vegeta.
Yes. She says it's not a part of the world's game spec, which game spec is a term that people start throwing around a lot, which I don't think they ever said in volumes 1 through 3, but now it's a thing people say all the time.
I noticed that too. It's used in the intro to the game. He's literally like, when he's recapping, he's like, Ida was a being outside the original, the game spec. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like, it's the game specification, the design doc, the actual like intended design of the game. Yeah, he never once used that term until this game, and now it's just like, the game spec, that thing that we're always talking about.
Yeah. She says it's not a part of the world's game spec and it devours everything. The Vulgata swallowed her brother, but her brother has a special security wall equipped. There should be time before he's completely trapped. Haseo asks her brother's name. She says it's Zelkova. Haseo is shocked, but asks what Kusabira knows about Ovan. She says he has rejected the outside world and sealed himself in the ice. His wish is to disappear along with the world, but she knows the way in which he may be saved, and she will tell him if he rescues Zelkova. She gives him an area to go to and departs. Haseo goes to the area, and Kusabira meets him there. She says the Vulgata is getting closer. It appears, and it looks like a fucked up baby or something.
It's fucking gross.
Yeah, it's cool. Also, every time I said Vulgata, I simultaneously thought Vegeta and Vulgata. Like the way that the police chief says Peralta in the show Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Nice.
I've never seen Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
It's a good show.
Yeah.
So
it's
I've
my
heard
favorite propaganda.
The main character's last name is Jake. His name is Jake Peralta, and the police chief always angrily says Peralta. The way that Joe Bluth is like Michael.
Because I assume this Jake Peralta is always doing some antic or shenanigan.
He's always doing an antic or shenanigan, exactly.
The Vulgata roars and we see Zelkova inside it. The party fights the Vulgata, but it heals itself and retreats. Haseo hears Zelkova's voice telling him to go to the net slum terminal and use it to look up data on the Vulgata. Kusabira asks Haseo to do as Zelkova says. Haseo warps back to Makanu. Pi calls Haseo and tells him that to get to the net slum, he's going to have to go to a particular area and use area hacking because of some excuse like things have degraded and you have to do a dungeon. Haseo heads to the area, then heads to Net Slum Tartarga, then heads to the terminal. The terminal says there's an anomaly in the data transfer, and analysis will take several days. Pi walks up and says that due to the area hack, connection between Makanu and the net slum has been restored. So now you don't have to go through the area every time.
Hooray!
Pi says she'll take care of the terminal while Haseo gives his friends an update. She says they're all gathered in the net slum. So we go talk to them. Kun complains that the world shutting down will put a damper on his womanizing and mentions Yata became a stockbroker or something. Kaede begs Haseo to save Zelkova. Indrance bees creepy at Haseo. Bo says Saku hasn't been around much lately. He says he'll help Haseo. Then Saku shows up briefly and berates Haseo. It's great. Tabby says Teacher was sad that he couldn't join. I don't know. I guess that's something from the show.
Mm-hmm.
Ina says she's spoken with Pi, who told her how Haseo lost his powers and took a job at NAB to try to save Ovan, and that he may never regain consciousness. Haseo swears he'll bring Ovan back. Haseo goes to check on Pi. She says the analysis just completed and went so fast because of the groundwork Haseo laid at NAB. Pi says the Vigalta is a byproduct of the instability produced when the world lost autonomous control. Pi gives Haseo the mod program and says it will stop the destruction of the world. She says Haseo's research at NAB enabled its development. Pi locates the Vigalta and gives Haseo the area words. She says the world's data is decaying, and at this rate, it appears the world R2 will be destroyed much faster than anticipated. Haseo sets off to the area. Kusabira meets him there and runs ahead. Haseo catches up with her. She says it's coming. The Vigalta appears. Haseo uses the mod program to stop it from healing, and the party kicks its ass. The Vigalta vomits up Zelkova and disappears. Zelkova thanks Haseo for saving him. Haseo says his sister asked him to do so, and Zelkova's like, haha, what? I ain't got no sister. Kusabira runs up, and Haseo's like, who the hell are you? Zelkova looks at Kusabira and is like, so you're... ... Haseo, you need the power of your avatar, right? If she's here, it's a possibility. Haseo's like, what are you talking about? Zelkova says to meet him at the bridge and departs with Kusabira. At the bridge, Zelkova tells Haseo he's going to remove the seal. Haseo's like, what about the anti-existence? Zelkova says that's no longer a concern because he's going to use his, quote, sisters, unquote, data. He says if there were to be an impurity such as Kusabira's data, Kubia would not appear. We see Haseo and Kusabira on slabs in a white void. Haseo absorbs the power of the epitaphs or something and takes on his fifth form, Ultimate Steel. And it's he's got like an open jacket and no shirt, and he's got these tattoos on his torso that sort of look like... It looks like his pubes are hanging out.
That's the word. Yeah. Okay. So first of all, he's hot. Second of all, what's it called when like the hair goes into the pubes? It's a thing that dudes have. I think it's really gross, honestly.
There are multiple names for it. I'm sure Treasure Trail, I think, is one.
That shit, right? I'm like, I don't know. Even back when I was a dude, I was like, shave that. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to be suggested of your pubes. Right? I know that's the point. It's to be like it feels like someone's being sexual.
There's not a point to it. It's just something that happens.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying shave. No, that's not true. People very prominently people will like manscape it and shit, right? But I mean, look, if you're just hairy, you can be hairy. It's fine. Anyway, the point is, it looks like the Ida bubbles look like that. It's very funny, and also his pants. They go higher around the hips, and then in the middle they go down lower. So like it's all very pointy. Did y'all notice that?
Yes.
Oh, also, sorry, I never mentioned this in Volume 3. I can't believe we got all the way through without me mentioning this. Yo, I guess it's too late now, but X-Form Haseo is fucking caked up.
Oh, yeah.
Did y'all notice that?
Yes.
Because he has these weird metal plates as armor, but they're on his butt. So when he's running, he's like the thickest beat you've ever seen in your life. It's hilarious. Anyway,
I'd heard that like people would make jokes about Haseo having a huge ass, and I like never understood. And then the X form happened, and I was like, "Oh, I see."
It's like, I don't like. It's bigger than like the ass of most like female game characters that are like hypersexualized. You know, like that kind of like thing that games do. Like it's like more than any of those.
Yeah.
Anyway, R.I.P. R.I.P. Thick Haseo.
I think I posted something in the Discord that was like, Yata, I'm trying to sneak around, but I'm dummy thick, and the clap of my armor plates keeps alerting the PKs or something.
Oh yeah, I remember that now. I think that's
so good.
Maybe I hadn't gotten that far yet, so I didn't know he was caked up yet or something.
Yes. So Haseo acquires the 8-phase blade, Gate of Ouroboros. Haseo
cool.
It is. It's a chain sword, which is always fun.
Also, we never have to change weapons again. We only have one weapon now. It's great. You had to put zero effort into the game from now on.
Yes, you can no longer change weapons, but you have a cool chain sword. So back on the bridge, Zelkova says that with Kusabira's data acting as an intermediary, Haseo's mind and the epitaph have been safely reconnected. Kusabira collapses. Zelkova's like, don't worry about it. She'll be fine. Kusabira says Haseo's new power should be enough to break Ovan out of the ice. Haseo's like, okay, but what the fuck are you? She's like, I'm Zelkova's sister. Zelkova's like, don't worry about it. Haseo decides to talk to everyone before heading off. Yata's here with Pai now. Pai says Yata's been supporting them from the real world this whole time. He says he didn't do it for Haseo or Ovan's sake, but as the man who loved the world more than anyone, he's not about to let him be the one who gets to go down with the ship.
Yata, you should get some help, because being sad that someone has a cooler way of committing suicide than you is a big deal. You should probably talk to somebody. I don't think loving a video game that much is pretty healthy. Okay.
Obviously, suicide is a serious topic, but shifting it slightly to not being about suicide, I kind of do think if I was in a serious life or death situation where people were fighting and trying to like save the world and stuff, and some other guy sacrificed himself and died in a really cool way, I'd probably feel a little jealous, actually. I get it. What I don't get, if you really love the game so much, Yata, don't you think people would know that you love the game more than anyone, and you wouldn't have to keep reminding everyone? It just seems like you're trying a little bit too hard to make sure everyone knows that.
Yeah. Yata's weird.
Real quick, fun fact, in every one of these go around and talk to everyone scenes, you have to talk to everyone, so you can't skip any, but I would talk to Indrance and then immediately skip the cutscene.
Aw.
I didn't want to talk to him.
Yeah. He's weird in this one. He is just like, hey, I am homosexual and I'm horny for you, instead of being like, Haseo, I'm so dedicated to you, I'll follow you to the ends of the earth. He's just like, yo, Haseo, I want to fuck you.
That's
and
actually
it's
a lot better.
Weird and it's different. I don't know. I guess.
I'm glad he's figured some things out.
I guess.
Like before, this is a year's gone by. So before, we all know this. Sometimes you're around someone and you're like, this is making me feel a lot of things for no particular reason. It's probably nothing. And then later you're like, oh, yeah, I get it.
Anyway, Pi says data disruptions have made direct transfer to Quahome Cavern impossible. He'll have to head through an area and hack his way there. So, again, Pi has just made up a reason for us to go to a dungeon. Mm-hmm. Tabby mentioned she was a member of the Twilight Brigade, and if you've just played the game, you're like, wait, what? And Shino and Aina tell Haseo that Ovan's condition has turned critical. Haseo swears to bring him back. Everyone else just says they want to help, except Indrins, who bees really horny at Haseo. Haseo overhears Kaede scolding Zelkova for his recklessness. Zelkova said he did what was necessary to protect the net slum. Kaede asks what happens to him once the world fades away. Zelkova's like, you figured me out. But though the world will end, this world will continue on in some form. Whatever world comes after this, he'll be there. Excuse me. Haseo forms a party and makes his way to Quahome Cavern. Haseo shatters the ice and catches Ovan as he falls. Haseo yells at Ovan to wake up. Kusabira walks up. She says she knew where he was, but didn't have the power to break him free of his prison until now. She kneels next to Ovan and says she knows he can hear her voice, just like he did before. Black bubbles swarm around her. She and Ovan start to float. Pi, who is monitoring from afar, says she's picking up an Ida signal. Kusabira says, "You are the being, I am its shadow. I am you, you are me. Awaken to your persona."
If you didn't make that joke, I was going to have to. So.
We are two become one. Ida envelops Kusabira and Ovan. Pi says the Ida that possessed Ovan somehow evolved human-like intelligence and is now trying to return to Ovan. The Ida swarm dissipates and Ovan floats to the ground. His left arm is Ida-E. He says the Ida's memory explained everything to him. He says back when he activated Rebirth, he left behind no regrets or attachments. He says he chose to come here. He wanted to disappear at the edge of the world. It seemed the most fitting. Haseo fucking punches Ovan. And he says, saving your sister this way may have made you happy, but do you think anyone else is okay with this? Haseo says he doesn't believe Ovan wants it to end this way. It's actually Kusabira, the Ida, whispering in his ear, isn't it? Haseo says there are two paths before Ovan. One of safety and shame, where he turns his back on reality and sleeps in the ice forever, and the other of peril and pride, where he returns to reality and faces up to the truth. Haseo offers his hand to Ovan and helps him up. The Vigalta appears. A hole opens below Haseo and Ovan and drops them into an outer dungeon. Haseo tries to contact Pi, but it doesn't work. Haseo says it feels like forever since he's been standing side by side with Ovan, and now there's nothing that can scare him. Ovan says, there's nothing that can scare us. Ovan joins the party. I'm guessing in the Japanese it was more something along the lines of, and now I am fearless, because, I don't know, saying, and now nothing can scare me. It doesn't sound very badass.
Yeah, it sounds like you're a little baby. Also, I don't know, yeah. Was everything scaring you before? Like, I didn't notice.
Yeah,
he fucking killed the anti-existence.
Yeah, and
whatever that is.
And now nothing can scare me is the exact sort of thing that someone who's very scared would say.
Yeah, exactly. He said convincingly.
So, Haseo and Ovan journey through the outer dungeon and encounter the Vigalta. They fight it, and it turns into a giant monster called Abyssal Moralta. Haseo says the mod program should have weakened it. Yes. Ovan says the more the world degenerates, the more the thing's strength compounds. He says its purpose must be to preserve the world's integrity, its instinct to devour anything outside the game spec. There's that phrase again. Yeah. That's why it attacked the net slum and keeps attacking Haseo. Haseo and Ovan summon Skaith and Korbanik, and I can never get a full read on what Skaith's design is because it's just like a bunch of spikes. But I'm pretty sure Skaith and Korbanik fucking digivolve into one avatar.
Yeah, they make a cool new one.
Yeah, this is the end of the Digimon movie, Our War Game, where they complete with the design of the new Skaith is very close to Omnimon, with the long white spindly arms and legs and the cape. It's straight up just Omnimon, which is cool because, like I said in the chat, this game takes place in the Digimon universe, and we'll get to that.
Yes. After a long fight, Haseo and Ovan data drain the beast. They then put all their emotions and memories into one big punch to destroy it. I wish I could put all my emotions and memories into a punch to solve problems. Haseo supports Ovan as they walk through Makanu. The Ida arm is gone from Oban's shoulder. I just called him Oban. Ovan's shoulder. Ovan says Haseo's grown stronger. Haseo says even so, he couldn't do anything on his own. He had to rely on others. We see flashes of his adventures. Ovan says that's what has made Haseo stronger. I wrote Ovan instead, which is funny. Aina runs up and hugs Ovan, followed by all the other characters. Shino welcomes him back. Ovan says he's home. Credits. After the credits, you can wander around Makanu and talk to everyone. After, Ovan says he has something to do in an area and asks Haseo to lend him a hand. As they travel through the area, Ovan says he's aware he dragged everyone into his personal agenda. And it's like, yeah, you kinda did. He feels bad about what he did to Shino, Tabby. There was some third name, but I guess I mistyped it on my phone because what it says is Saki Sak.
Oh, it's Saki Saka. He's the teacher Tabby is referring to. It was one of the things, was being our last episode, I didn't want there to be any whatever that means, and so I was looking things up. And Saki Saka is one of the 4 members of the Twilight Brigade. So you had Ovan, Haseo, or 5. Ovan, Haseo, Shino, Saki Saka, and Tabby.
Okay.
Members.
So I missed the last letter, and that turned it from Saki Saka to Saki Sak.
Yeah. It's like a hacky sack, but off-brand.
Yes.
Sakimoto.
But Ovan says he knows the path he set Haseo on was particularly hard. Haseo asks if he talked things through with Shino. He says she wasn't particularly bothered about becoming a lost one, but was upset he tried to end it all. She said she'll never forgive him for that. And this is sort of awkward because my third party member was Shino. So she's just standing there while they're having this conversation.
Earlier,
talking about her in third person.
Earlier, I would have scenes where I'd go through a dungeon with the character, and then I would get back, and then the character would be in my party, and then they'd be like, then I'd go out and talk to, it'd be like, go out and update the characters. And then I'm updating Tabby on what just happened. And I'm like, you were there the entire time. I do not need to be giving you an update. Then maybe she wasn't paying attention.
Maybe.
Oh, we haven't mentioned, Tabby, in case you couldn't tell by her title, is an actual cat girl.
Yeah.
When you first meet her, she says something like, I am meow back. She says meow instead of I'm going to go do it right. Meow. Right. It's cute. It's the thing. It's not my thing. It's not like my jam or anything, but she is cute. Here's the thing about the whole cat girl thing. Okay, here's the thing.
Okay.
It's not like cat girls are cute. That's not the thing when most people say that. It's just if someone's already cute, then if they're doing something, you're like, sure. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's oh, you're into that? I'm into it when someone hot does it. What do you want from me? So yeah, Tabby's cat girls are hot when it's Tabby because Tabby's cute and I like her. So there you go. She's got a good fit. She's got a good voice, good character. I love I love Haseo's 5 girlfriends, including Indran's.
Anyway, later Ovan mentions it's hard for him to accept that he has to coexist with Ida now. Haseo asks if Kusabira hasn't been completely erased. Ovan says no, she's a part of him now. Haseo and Ovan reach the Beast Temple. Haseo reminisces about when he first got PK'd. Ovan points his gun at Haseo, and Haseo freaks out. Then they share a laugh over one friend threatening another. And I'm like, Ovan, you've been a boss battle multiple times. This isn't funny. It's not funny when you do this. Ovan's like, well, time to go. Haseo realizes Ovan didn't need help with anything. He just wanted to go on one last adventure with Haseo. Back in Makanu, Ovan thanks Haseo. He says this might be the first time he ever truly enjoyed the world. Ovan asks if after all this time and everything, I'm sorry, I read that all wrong. Ovan asks if after all this time and everything he's put him through, Haseo still wants to be his friend. You can say, yeah, of course I do. Or, no, I see you as... ... I say, yeah, of course I do. Haseo tells Ovan to stop worrying. Credits again. So what happens if you select the other option?
So Haseo says, you really won't give it a rest, will you? Still, there's one thing you're wrong about, you know? The truth is, I think of you as far more than just a normal friend, and you feel the same way. Right, Ovan? Haseo. Yes, I do. Huh. I guess we definitely have a chemistry between us that goes beyond friendship. Wait, did you say chemistry? Well then, shall we go? I'm looking forward to finding out just how deep our connection really is. Hang on a minute. That wasn't what I mean. I swear. Huh? What do you mean, huh? Are you even listening to me? Ovan! And then it says in bright yellow text, forever in love. And then you get the wedding ending for Ovan. But this time, instead of Haseo being in the tux and the other character being either in a tux or a dress, Haseo is in the dress. And he looks incredibly in distress. And Ovan looks hot in his tux. And it is great. But then the final, like money shot of the scene is Haseo and Ovan in each other's arms, like saying "I do" in the sunset, and it's amazing.
That's very surprising. Also, called it last week. I said there was a gay ass scene last week that none of y'all caught on to, and I was right. Just saying. Also, like, kind of weird that the game went there, because usually anime shit made for kids is like very conservative about that stuff. And
well, this is a joke ending.
Well, yes, but it's still interesting. I mean, it's a choice you get to literally make, though, right? Like, I don't know. Yeah. I think what I mean about it is I think it's surprising that it's not a lot more coy and subtle about it, right? Like, that's like, Sam, when you were talking just now, I was like, oh, they're doing a coy little jokey, oh, what if they were okay, kind of thing. But then you kept going for like another 2 minutes. Yeah. That's what's surprising to me.
And then the final bit of that is at the very end of the credits. It's either Haseo or Ovan. I think it's Ovan. It says... it is Ovan. He says, Haseo, this may be our final day in the world, but to me, it seems almost never ending. I'm glad I get to spend it by your side.
Aww.
Yeah.
Also, you didn't mention this earlier, but I feel like it should be noted. When y'all do the combined punch, when the two of them punch with the power of friendship, they literally do a holding hands punch.
Yeah.
Like, they clasp their hands together, and it does have some chemistry to it, okay? It is not purely we're punching the guy real hard. It's like we are clasping our hands together in deep friendship and punching the guy, which frankly, I feel like you wouldn't get good leverage. Like, I don't think that's a good, just from a physics standpoint, I don't think that's a good way to punch somebody. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, so that's the end. You can keep playing forever if you want to, but of the 4 games, this is the one that I would want to keep playing forever the least, because the procedural generation is not there. There are only 6 dungeons you can go to in this game.
And you can't like upgrade your equipment or anything.
Yeah, so it's don't know why you would want to keep playing on this game, but it lets you. But yeah, so one final lore thing that I looked up because we were curious about it. So Yada was the character Wiseman in the original quadrilogy on your team. He was 10 years old at the time. So at 10 years old, he saves the universe by playing a video game and then spends 7 years making 3 different alts to play more of that video game.
God.
So I now kind of understand why it's his whole personality.
Do something else, bro.
So how old is Yata now?
17.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You know what? Look.
Well,
he's got a job.
That leads into...
He seems like he's doing fine, honestly. Like, it's weird, but he has a job. He's taking care of himself. You know, I guess let people have their hobbies, I guess.
That leads into one of my memorable moments. So let's listen to some music and then I'll say it.
Hell yeah.
Dope. Weird. I wasn't the one that segued this time.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
So after you get Yata's member address in Volume 3, he's added to your list of people in your emails. And you know how they all have like something like favorite food or hobby or something. Mm-hmm. I forgot to get a screenshot of this, so I don't know if I have it exact, but his is morning routine, and it's something along the lines of wake up, check stocks, 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups. And honestly, I love it.
I respect that.
Yes. I love it. Other memorable moments from me, I like how this is the final game that wraps things up and answers your questions and everything. But still, there is so much unanswered. Mainly the fact that we don't know what the fuck Zelkova is and what it means that Kusabira is his, quote, sister,
but
unquote.
Also not. Yeah. When you confront him, he's like, he pretty much just literally says, like, I'll tell you later. And then he doesn't.
Yeah, so you there's a scene that we didn't mention, or if you mentioned, I was looking something up and I didn't hear it. But you overhear him and Kaede talking, and Kaede basically says...
Yeah, no, we went over that. Okay, like, yeah, they kind of...
She's implying that he's one of those AIs that lives in paradise, which was the net slum. That, because remember the weird shit that Nuada found at the beginning of last game, where he was talking about how the people in the net slum aren't they're player characters that were abandoned and are now being activated by pure AIs, and that's what it's implying that Zelkova is, and that's why when the world is shut down, Zelkova will die. Except Zelkova says he won't, because this is the digital world, and I'll go off on that in a little bit.
Right, but they just don't. We're just saying they don't follow up any after that point. It's like Hesea overhears something. He's like, "Huh, what?" And then it's like, "Oh, okay. Are they gonna have something about that in the ending, like a big revelation in the ending?" No, that's it.
No, they don't.
Another thing I liked about Volume 4 is they brought back a lot of characters, a lot of voiced characters. I was expecting there to be like 3 returning voice characters, sort of like fucking what's it called? Xenoblade Chronicles Future Connected, where there's like 2 returning characters after a decade. But no, everyone is here except Gabi. And then there are some other characters who appear at the very end non-voice, like Taiaku and Sirius.
Mm-hmm. And Pyros the Third.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, that's all I have.
All right, Maddie, do you have any?
Yeah. Let's go through mine. There's just one of the lines when you're talking to everyone at the beginning. There's a long shot of Makanu, and someone goes, "In any case, this place is careening down a path to destruction." And just relatable sentence. Did you mention that Alcade is now the emperor of all 3 tournaments?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I must have. There was a lot of stuff in that in there. Tabby at one point says, "Meow that I'm here. You needn't worry your whiskers one little bit." I'm like, okay, you're really committed to the cat thing. Let's see. When when Haseo first talks with Aina, he has you basically said this, but I want to quote his exact line because Haseo transformed a lot over the course of this game, and it really is cool how he's become just a much sweeter person. And Aina is all like, he's Ovan, I miss Ovan, he's gonna die. And Haseo says the only thing that should be on your mind is what you're going to say to Ovan when he finally wakes up, because he will. And I really like that because it's a funny little combination of Haseo's sometimes that's a really bad thing to say to someone when someone's upset and you're literally just like, I promise everything's going to be fine. Because what if it's not, right? It's better to be like, whatever happens, people love you, right? So it's a little bit blunt and uncaring, but also, as we've seen many times in this game, and I think this is true in real life too, sometimes that just blunt shut the fuck up, it's gonna be fine, is actually really good. And I think that is if Haseo was a real person, that would be the thing that he brings to a friendship, right? Or to a relationship, is being able to be if I were you, I would simply not have this emotion, and instead of you being fuck you, you're damn, good point. And it just works. Because again, I've had situations where someone was like that, right? Anyway, the point is, Haseo is actually pretty good at being a friend and helping people out when they're having emotional distress, and I think he actually does a good job here in his way. Let's see. In addition, I'm gonna skip that one. It's an NPC, but whatever. When Haseo is giving Ovan his speech about how there's 2 wolves inside of him, we have he holds his fist out to Ovan dramatically for some reason. And we see that his outfit, he has sweet, he's got the fucking drip. All of his fingers have rings on them. Multiple rings on each finger. Gold rings. It's cool. Haseo's cool. The enemy designs continue to be fucking sick as hell. One of the little mini bosses in the final dungeon is just it's kind of like a big not a big Cerberus. It's a big, it's a big beast monster thing, like a behemoth from Final Fantasy. But its head is, I don't know, it kind of looks it's kind of reptilian. It still is shaped like a beast head, but it kind of looks like it's got scales and a reptilian nature. And then coming off of the front of the back of its neck, curving around, are all these weird tentacles and stuff. It's just really cool. The final boss is unimaginably cool looking. And finally, when you're in the final dungeon and you are, wait, hold on, what is this? Wait, what? Sorry. When you're in the final dungeon, or in any dungeon actually, with Tabby running around, we haven't talked about this really, but whenever you're running around in dungeons, characters will just say things sometimes like, "This is so much fun," and I'm always like, "Is it?" But Tabby at one point says, "I ... really like the nice Haseo." Which, yeah, she hasn't seen you since a long time ago, and last time she saw you, you were a huge asshole, and you've gone through this whole character arc, so to her, you're like a completely new person, which I thought was cute. So that's it for me.
All right, so tail end of Volume 3, there's a forum post that is titled CC Corp Ovar with an A instead of an E. And so everyone is in there being like, oh, like they done goofed. This is the third strike. They're out. The third time they bring the entire world to its knees by disrupting global networking. And everyone's like, nah, we're still going to play. And there's, I'm not going to read the exact quotes, but there's like 4 or 5 different things that like I have felt from WoW players where they're like, I really hate the way that the game is going. I don't trust this company to make a good game anymore, but I'm still going to log on and play like 8 hours a day, and you can't stop me. There's nothing you will do will ever break the fact that like I'm going to raid on Tuesday.
Sam, that reminds me of one of the greatest tweets of all time by the greatest poster of all time, Donald Trump, RIP to a real one. He tweeted in 2012, the Coca-Cola company is not happy with me. That's okay. I'll still keep drinking that garbage.
You know, we make fun of the players of the world a lot, but we have to imagine that, you know, in fiction, this is just the most fun MMO ever. So you have to think about it in those terms. And if Square Enix had nearly destroyed the world 3 times, Final Fantasy XIV players would still be playing.
Yeah.
Like, that would not dissuade. Yeah. Have you met a Final Fantasy XIV player? They would keep playing.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'll keep drinking that garbage.
Like if you ever hear keyboard clacks on a main episode, it's like Eli has admitted sometimes on games that he's frustrated with, he'll just check out while we're recording and play Final Fantasy XIV while we're recording. So I know for a fact that he would be playing the world even when
he absolutely would.
It has killed everything. So I've watched several now. I can't remember which one it is. I think it's the Rise and Fall of the Fall and Rise of Final Fantasy XIV. But they talk about how the last day of Final Fantasy XIV 1.0 before they turned it off for 6 months and then turned it back on when it was good finally, they basically like the GMs like uncloaked themselves and just started summoning fucking monsters everywhere, because in fiction it was an apocalypse and there were monsters everywhere, so they were just like fucking with shit, and it would seem like a grand old time and everybody saying goodbye to the thing that they loved. And that's definitely exactly what's happening here, except with like it doesn't seem like CC Corp wanted this to happen, but it's like everybody's like, oh, of course we're going to play the world on the last day that we're allowed to play the world, and that's why everyone's here. Is we're here for the party to watch everything burn.
Yeah, that reminds me of like cool. That reminds me of like the last day before they like turned the Halo 2 servers offline.
Did
Halo 2 online?
Didn't they like? Wasn't it like as long as games were going, they would stay online, so people just like kept games going for a super long time?
Yeah, there were like 2 people that just I don't want to overstate how long it was, but it was like pretty sure it was literal years in like a custom game. Yeah, and then eventually I think they like lost power or something, and it finally happened. It was wild. I remember reading a story about it while it was still happening.
Love it. So then a couple other real quick ones that I have. Saku is in this game, and she calls Hiseo Bucko, which is my favorite thing to call people, and it made me giggle. One of the random NPCs you talk to, he says, I don't even remember what he pontificates on, but it's annoying. But then his next text box is like, I've got such a scarily refined intellect, I give myself the shivers. And I'm like, oh hey, you're an MMO player. And then my last one is, so go to talk to Zelkova, and you're like, what do you mean Kusabira is not your sister? And he's like, let's just leave it at that for now. I don't want to ruin all the surprises. And Haseo's response is, give me a break. Just like mood.
I think Haseo says something like, give me a break, or like, come the heck on. Not literally, but he said something to that effect a number of times during this episode, which I feel like he's like, look, I went through the whole character arc, I learned how to be a good person, and then I literally saved the world. And yet, I still keep having to deal with this annoying bullshit. You know what? I'm done. I'm just... Fuck this. This is stupid.
Yeah.
I have to go on an adventure to save Ovan when the only actual problem with him seems to just be that he's sad.
Yeah.
Haven't you ever had to go on an adventure because your friend is sad?
I mean, yes, and it's annoying. I'll still do it.
Okay, so my last thing is my Galaxy Brain take that .hack takes place in the same metaverse as Digimon. So, apologies, this is real nerdy Digimon shit. Like,
yeah, we're about to get into the real shit right now, I can tell.
Yeah, like this is not 8 friends go on an adventure and learn the power of friendship and fight monsters in a computer level. This is like, so King Drazzle is the recurring bad guy of Digimon. And
did you just say King Drazzle?
Yes, it is a poor translation of Yggdrasil, but that's what it that's what I'm going with. But so King Drazzle is the main bad guy of every Digimon story, because every Digimon story is the digital world is a real place that exists, and all the different, it's like the humans are from different universes, but the Digimon aren't, even though the digital world looks different. It's like a different epic of the digital world. And basically King Drazzle is like, humans fucking suck, and every time humans show up, they ruin everything. So when the humans start showing up, I'm going to reboot the digital world and start the fuck over. And it's kind of implied that he succeeds all the fucking time. And even when like our heroes will stop it from happening, the next game, it's like the digital world is different. So obviously, like, he just waited us out and then reset the universe anyways. And so the like idea that the digital world is like persistent and goes through, even like we connect to it through our computers, but it like, it's not mainframe from Reboot. It's not the world inside of our computer. It is this other thing that our computers let us access. And Habu, the producer of all of the video games, he had an interview recently where he was like, the way I see a Digimon is that because it's always existed and we only interface with it in different ways, like Digimon would be the yokai and everything in folklore before, and there were different ways to interact with that other world. So Zelkova being an AI and saying, hey, don't worry, when the World Revision 3 turns up, I'll be there. Like, it's fine, I'm outside of the game spec, but no one gives a shit what the game spec even means. As well as Aura, the god in the machine from the World Revision 1, even though none of that code is here, she's here now, is all the world is how these characters are interacting with the concept of the digital world, and they are and so like they are interacting with that thing that exists outside of the game. And that's why like weird JRPG shit is happening. It's because like, oh, like the Haseo's character is pressing the action button, but like that's doing real things in a real place that exists. We just are interacting with it through an online game, and it all clicked into place, and it's cool. And if you like that sort of thing, you're like, wow, that's really interesting. Where can I learn more about that? Most of that plot comes from like the back of the box for Digivices. So it's not like a little of that is in Cyber Sleuth. Those games touch on it the most. And then I think season 4 touches on that a lot. But most of that is like Wonder Swan games, the little lore cards that come in the card game packs, stuff like that. It is deep cut Digimon shit.
I just realized something.
Yes.
What?
They called the sequel to The World Revision 2. It's not Revision 2, it's the first revision.
Revision isn't just another word for version, you dumbasses.
But yeah, the Digimon fan in me really grokked with this weird shit that you just had to accept in volumes 3 and 4. I liked that a lot. But we're done with this game. Review time. How do you like this game series?
3 out of 5.
Okay, well, I would never rate something out of 5. I don't understand. But honestly, I'll do one better. 3 out of 4.
Nice.
Wow.
Solid, just a normal 3. Just regular, pretty good. I don't know. It's a hard sell because it is so long, although really it's only the length of like one Persona game, which are also a hard sell because they're so long, and less in like 2/3 of one Dragon Quest VII. But like they're just so weird. It's just very singular. It's a very singular experience. I like knowing that something this just unusual happened at some point in gaming history, you know what I mean?
Twice.
Twice. I like being aware that someone had an idea this stupid, sort of, and that they didn't even do it extremely competently, kind of makes it funnier. And also, I mean, I just love weird PS2 shit, right? It was a wild era for video games. In addition to that, though, the characters do go on quite a journey, actually, especially Haseo. The character growth actually really ended up surprising me, right? And also, I think that something that smooths over a lot of this game's sins is that it is, on a fundamental level, just very pleasurable to play. It actually feels really nice. I enjoy the grind, not the grind literally, but the loop of checking your mail, of hearing that beautiful music, of hearing the clickety clack of the extremely good menus. Some of the best menus, I don't mean like how they look, although they look good too, but like every time you move the menus up and down, it goes like clack 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 clack, and then there's like little graphics showing it. It just feels like you're operating like a big chunky machine. Just really, really good game feel for the menus. It feels good to run around. Driving the motorcycle feels good. The battles feel good. Like way better than... It feels way more pleasurable to play than other better games. And I feel like because of that, it's just like, yeah, I didn't mind playing this dumbass game. If we had to... If I hadn't been forced to play it for this goddamned podcast, but I had some impetus to start playing it, I probably would have played it a lot slower and would have taken a long time for me to get through it, because it is not the most exciting game in the world. I probably would play it for an hour or two and then be like, all right, I'm bored, and then go on to something else, right? But I probably would have played the entire thing and eventually beaten it. I don't know, man. Weird game. Thank you. I almost called him CD Projekt Red. Thank you, CyberConnect, for having a dumb idea for a video game and then putting a lot of work into it. Like, I hope that y'all had a good time making it, and I hope that you all are doing well. You know?
Yeah.
I am glad that I was forced to play this game because I am happy to have played it, but I certainly wouldn't have played it otherwise. If I'd gotten halfway through Volume 1, I would have pieced out.
Yeah, that is a little true. Volume 1, I mean, it was so long ago I hardly even remember it, but it was so rough. Volume 1.
There's not much to remember.
You don't even have. You don't even have Avatar battles in Volume 1, do you?
Yes, you do.
You do?
Yeah,
okay. They just made the mechanics a lot better in the second one. That's right. I knew they did change it though. Anyway,
I think it's a 7 out of 10 to have 3 different numerical scales for our reviews. Try kids play along at home, find the common denominator here, and figure out what the actual median score is. But like I like a lot like basically a lot of what Maddie said. Like it has such good vibes that were I the kid that could only get 1 game a year and 3 years in a row I got this game, like it's a great game to play for a whole year. Like there's so much like alternate content, like this whole like 3rd volume, it's like, hey, here's this whole quest tree that you guys are going to ignore because who the fuck wants to go and kick a lot of animals. But like if you had 1 game and you wanted to go do the whole quest tree about kicking animals, like you could do that. There's just this game is incredibly generous, especially that all 4 of the games go for like $7.50 on Steam sales now. Like when we started this, it went for $12.50, and that was a great deal. And now they're going for $7.50, and that's a ridiculously good deal. Like there's just so much crap going on in these games, and like just like logging on and reading the forums and talking to NPCs and like it's vibes. It's probably the like Animal Crossing vibe wise of like story-based JRPGs with weird anime bullshit. It's like you can, all of the like dumb MMO chore stuff is there in game, and you can do it if you want to, and it's kind of cool. And I know friend of the podcast, Francesco, like right before we started recording, he did a 100% playthrough, and it took him like I think 100 hours. And he went and he did all the quests, and he fought the doppelganger all 3 times and got the secret quest line that's only there in the third one if you had beaten the doppelganger and cleared out the books of Ryu or whatever in both the first 2 games. Like all this other crazy shit that like is there in the games. And so it's like there's so much stuff you can do. And if I didn't have to get to the next plot point every week, like I definitely could see myself like, because you know there are games you play where you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to go to the next Oblivion Gate, but most of the time you're like, oh, okay, you want me to go to the Oblivion Gate? Well, I'm going to join the Thieves Guild and the Dark Brotherhood and the Fighter Guild first, and you can't stop me. I'm going to do those entire quest lines before I step foot into the first Oblivion Gate. And this game I could see if I were playing it normally would be one of those things where it's like, oh, like you can go and do the tournament now. I'm like, yeah, but I just got this cool new area word for doing whatever. I'm going to go see what that does and see what this kind of dungeon is. And
I also like, I really like what you just said about Francesco, because you said that it took Francesco like 100 hours to 100% it. And that's the other thing about this game is that even though you said it's very generous, like it is, but also it doesn't actually take like forever. And it takes because unlike a real MMO, it's not designed to keep you paying the subscription fee every month for as long as possible. So like you gain levels so fast in this game, you know?
Oh yeah.
So like honestly, like I would never want to like get to level 99 in like a Final Fantasy game, because first of all, you beat Final Fantasy games like level 40, so going all the way to 99 is a lot, right? I have no interest in that. That's not a satisfying or interesting or cool thing for me to do. But in this game, you get levels so fast. I do have half a mind to be like, what if I got the plat trophy on this game? I bet it wouldn't actually take that long, because there's not that many. Like there's a lot, but there's not so much that you feel like you'll never ever see the end of it, which means you can just dive in, kick the fucking chims for a while, but not for a billion years, and then fill up that meter, and then you're like, look at that, love doing this. Or similarly, like you get so much money that like, oh, I want to get the best equipment possible. Oh, I buy 6 of the same sword and then fuse them all together, and bam, wow, that took like a couple minutes. That was easy, you know. Which is actually a benefit. Anyways, Sam, you posited the theory a lot, many ages ago, maybe even years ago, the idea that some games are kind of designed for like a kid who's 7 years old and whose parents are kind of lower middle class and can only afford to buy so many video games. So when your parent buys you that video game you've been asking for, it's the only game you're going to have for the next 6 months. I think using that lens, it makes a lot of games a lot better. And I don't mean like I'm just going to make up a reason why this thing is good instead of bad. It's like, no, that's a legitimate lens to look at something through because it's an actual valid experience for lots of people. For example, me, when I was younger. So, like, the idea that, like, no, I'm just going to, this is the game I'm going to chill with because it's the game that I have. And that doesn't mean I won't keep playing anything. I'm not going to play any bullshit just because it's there. But if something is good enough and it's pleasurable, it's nice to hang out in. There were times in the last few weeks I've been playing FF14 and I've been like, I'd rather play .hack. Not very often, but that's because FF14 is just so complicated. And I'm like, you know what? I just want to mindlessly do stupid bullshit and listen to a podcast. And you know what? This game pairs great with a podcast. Check out Revolutions by Mike Duncan. He's not sponsoring this, but I'm still going to shill his podcast. Learn about, learn about like the 18th and 19th century history of like the German republics and run around hitting the stupid button for a while. 10 out of 10.
So I was wondering what CyberConnect 2 is up to, and it looks like mainly they make anime games, a lot of Naruto games, a few JoJo's Bizarre Adventure games, but also a couple of pretty high-profile ones recently. They made Dragon Ball Z Kakarot.
Oh,
Kakarot.
I heard that fucking sucked ass, but good for them, though.
Yeah, but it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And this year, they're making a Demon Slayer game, which Demon Slayer is like some of the brand new hotness.
Yeah, it's the new hotness.
Which I'm not familiar with. But also, interestingly, they made Asura's Wrath.
Huh.
Which I've heard is really good.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Nice.
That's really neat. Yeah, no, I always just, making games is hard. Making art is hard. Doing anything is hard. And I'm glad they're getting work. I'm glad they didn't have to like shut down their studio, like good for all of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you'd kind of expect the studio that made .hack would have had to shut down.
Or like it just got bought out by Bandai Namco and now they all just work for doing whatever, to do whatever they're doing. But yeah, it's still an extant independent studio. Huh, good for them,
Yeah. But
I've heard of their very first game is called Tail Concerto. I've heard of that. I think I've heard it's great.
Yeah, they also made Solitorobo Red the Hunter, which I think I've heard is good.
Yeah, I've heard that's good.
Lots of Narutos.
Lots of Narutos, yes.
Yeah. Did they do the Shinobi Strikers one that was out recently?
Oh, who fucking knows?
Oh my gosh, they made
see.
Final Fantasy VII G-Bike. That's the, like, what if we took the Final Fantasy VII motorcycle mini game from that one part and just made a slightly expanded version of it that you can download on your phone? They made that. That's hilarious.
No, it doesn't look like they did the one you mentioned.
Okay.
Have y'all heard about that Naruto game that Ubisoft made?
No.
Fucking Ubisoft. They made an open world Ubisoft game that was Naruto, apparently.
Was it any good?
I don't know.
Wait,
it's an open world Ubisoft game, so probably it's okay.
Y'all, these guys are back on their bullshit. They're way, what do you call it? They're way like over ambitious bullshit. Their most recent 3 games are called Tokyo Ogre Gate, Cecile, and Tokyo Ogre Gate, Cecile, and I accidentally clicked the wrong button, and something else. Anyway, as usual, they're like, why just make one game when we can make a trilogy and announce all 3 games at once and be like, this is some big new epic mega project that we're attempting to do.
Love it.
I love them. They're fucking. It's called the trilogy. Fuga, Tokyo Ogre Gate, and Cecile. Fuga came out in summer 2009. Fuga will come out in summer 2009, followed by Tokyo Ogre Gate 3 months later, and Cecile 3 months after that. In case you're curious, Tokyo Ogre Gate and Cecile are currently listed on Wikipedia as TBD.
Yeah. And also, Fuga isn't out until this year. It was delayed. But Fuga, I'll have you know, is a kick-ass furry tank game. So,
does Matt know of this?
Yes. I learned about it because of Matt.
Of course you did. But anyway, so Cyber Connection is just like, hey, what if we made a whole trilogy of games? Because all of our games are so successful, we can definitely bang. Even fucking Square won't announce how many games Final Fantasy VII Remake is, and yet little old Cyber Connect 2 is like, we have so much confidence we're going to announce that we have a trilogy of games.
Well, Square Enix sort of learned their lesson when they announced Fabula Nova Crystallis.
That's true. They did. They That's the thing. Cyber Connect 2, though, has had many chances to learn their lesson and has refused to.
Yeah, like I think .hack GU was originally going to be a 4-parter, just like the first series, and the third game came out and was like everything all in one, and that's why it like was paced fairly good because multiple things happened in it. But yeah, so it's like they have in their history like don't commit to a big ass thing, because they also, the World Revision 3 is in the PSP game. There was going to be another season of .hack on the PSP game, and that one was real bad and no one liked it, so it's the only game. There's only one game in it, but it's just like they'll never learn, and hats off to them.
Yeah,
love that shit.
Apparently they're able to keep the lights on at the office, so honestly, y'all keep doing whatever stupid bullshit you want to do. That's fine.
I mean, if I were to learn lessons, I wouldn't be making a second video game.
Exactly. No, don't talk to me about learning lessons.
But yeah, my last little reviewy bit about it is I joked many times that I would never play IMOC because I played a little bit of it and it wasn't that good. But now, like, I don't know, man. It's right there on my PS3 begging me to play it.
There's so many other things. It's probably just the same thing as this, but worse.
It probably 100% absolutely.
Just imagine if this was less good, and then it's like you don't need to play it.
Yeah, but I think I might. I might also just watch. There's the game movie is included in. Buddy,
you're playing every fucking Trails game.
I know. I don't need. Why do I only like gluttonously punishing things to do? It's like, oh, I should play this 11 game series and do it on a podcast, so I'm forced to do it. And then also, when that's over, play the previous 5 games in that series.
I mean, to be fair, I do that a lot too, but only selectively, and not so much anymore, I guess.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that will be the last words we talk about .hack GU.
Hell yeah,
forever.
Recode forever. We are currently 69% of the way to The Last of Us. So that means we get a break for a little bit. If you want us to not have a break, you can go and drop down whatever 31% of $500 is. You can drop that on our Ko-Fi at www.rpgbook.club, and then we'll play that game. And then after The Last of Us, our next long project is going to be Final Fantasy 13, the aforementioned Fabula Nova Crystallis. So
no, because the Final Fantasy 13 sequels were not part of Fabula Nova Crystallis when they announced it. Even
Fabula Nova Crystallis was FF13, FF Versus 13, and then FF
and some
Type 0.
Oh, Type 0,
right? Yeah. Well, some other game, some other game that had a different name. It wasn't called It was called Final Fantasy.
Cogito 13.
Agito 13,
like
yeah. So then what ended up happening was FF13 gets 2 sequels that are unrelated to the original Fabula Crystallis. And then Versus 13 becomes 15. And then Agito becomes Type 0, which is unrelated.
I think.
But also, there is a game that came out called Final Fantasy Agito 13, but it's not the one that they originally announced, because that one became Type 0. They just made a different game that they ended up calling Final Fantasy Agito 13.
Yeah.
So the entire Fabula Nova Crystallis series, I guess, is Final Fantasy 13 and Final Fantasy Agito 13, and that's it.
Yes, we will just be playing the trilogy, and I'm super hyped for that because I feel it's probably not as bad as everyone says it is, or as I'm imagining it is, or it's secretly worse, and both of those are so exciting to me.
Well, everyone says the sequels are fantastic.
Yeah, no, even pretty much everyone with any amount of taste says that at least the third one is great, and most people like the second one. The only one that's really contentious, as far as I can tell, is the first one. With people saying, "Oh, it's actually good. Oh no, it just sucks. There's no secret twist where it's actually good. Just it is what it's exactly what it says on the tin. Like, it's just not that good." As we've joked, Tim Rogers famously gave it a 2 out of 4 star review back in the day. In my opinion, very, very negative 2 out of 4 star review. And then later retconned it into 3 out of 4.
Yeah.
And by later, I mean last May in a different video, he retconned it to being 3 out of 4 stars.
Yeah, his review of it is 80,000 words. It is huge. It breaks down why the game is unfair and mean to its
one of the best things he's ever written,
and not good, and everything. And then at the end, he's like, "Yeah, but I played it twice and I racked up 71 hours on my first playthrough. So I mean, I guess it's pretty good. 2 out of 4." And that alone was you know what? I can fuck with that. I can understand a problematic game that you love the shit out of.
But the general consensus is that it is in fact better than that. That is in fact what everyone thought at the time, but in retrospect, it's actually that game has some stuff going for it. I'm very looking forward to revisiting it. Although I do know one very specific thing that I got mad about back in the day. It has to do with the final boss, and I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's not it's not a subjective thing. It's an objective, horrendously bad design decision that I can't imagine I would feel differently about the next time around. So get ready for at least one thing about this game that completely sucks.
Hell yeah. But other than that, I'm ready to be done talking now.
Hell yeah.
I am Sam Allman.
I am Maddie Grace Webben.
I'm Gabi.
No, you're not. You're not Gabi. Shut the fuck up. Just kidding.
I'm David Bernard Houck.
I'm going to log off and check my email.
All right.
That is also what I'm going to do. Goodbye.
Bye.
Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play. That's not this podcast. Let's try that again.